Hey folks, welcome back to Only Best Fantasy Novels. My name is Robin, and today I want to talk about Streams of Silver by Salvatore. This is the second book in the Icewind Dale trilogy, and in this one, it picks up almost directly after the events of the Crystal Shard. The Drizzt and companions have set out from Icewind Dale in search of Mithra Hall, which is the ancestral home of Bruenor and his clan of dwarves, which they were forced to flee a few centuries ago. So that's the general gist of what this book is about, but it also has quite a few other things going on. There's multiple subplots that are playing out that keep things interesting, you can say. So one of the subplots involves an assassin who is on the tail of one of the party members following a particular act. The second subplot is actually a continuation of one of the things from the Crystal Shard. So I'll leave that for you to discover. But it's pretty between the rotating plots. It's pretty. It keeps the story lively and fresh because quite a lot happens as a result. So the first thing to mention about this book is that very similar to the Crystal Shard and very unlike the three books in the Dark Elves trilogy, like this book is very much just an action adventure. More importantly, it's also one that you can just tell it. You can see the influences of Lord of the Rings. Like there's some stuff that are pulled, like the ideas are pulled almost directly from Lord of the Rings, and you do see it there. That being said, this is very much like it is. This is very much it is shared world fantasy, so it's not like you went to these things expecting high creativity or much imagination. You could say so. Yeah, it is what it is. You get what you sign up for eventually when you pick up this book to read. Like, this is a book primarily focused on plot, on action, adventure, and cool fights and that kind and quests and these kind of things, as opposed to being like a character-driven story of any sort. Not to say that there's not much character work. There is some, in particular Bruenor's arc. Over the course of this story, because obviously this is a deeply personal quest for him, and the other characters are very much in support of are very much play supporting roles to, or they almost play supporting roles to his story, which is, it very much meshes with given the plot of this book, you can see. That being said, even though it's an ensemble cast, like everyone gets their moment to shine here and there in terms of like different character quirks, that kind of thing. So it's not like there's no character development of any sort. Well, yeah, for the most part, it's just a continuation of the Crystal Shard. So there's that. The book does do a few things that were kind of exciting. First and foremost, we have a whole subplot going with the assassin who is after the party, and this assassin, he is described pretty much as the human version of Drizzt, and we see that when the two inevitably come to clash. I actually came across a video not too long after I read this book where a sword company reenacted, or they choreographed, I should say, a fight between Drizzt and the assassin, and it was impeccably done, and it kind of gave me the vibe that for them to do something like this guy has to be a fan favorite character of some sort. That being said, so far this is like the fifth Drizzt book I've read, the first one that actually introduces him, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. He could be, he couldn't be, who knows. I guess I'll find out if I read further. So yeah, that's in addition to that, we have like we have a few other threads that play, because at this point, like, we have a handful of characters who we were introduced to in the first book. Their stories continue, and then we have a slew of new characters introduced in this one who, for the plot lines that were started in the first book or were first brought up in the first book. So that, like, between all of that, there's quite a bit of moving parts that happen just among the cast of characters, and that keeps things lively, that keeps things interesting. In addition to that, needless to say, along the way, Drizzt and his party, they face they face quite a few different challenges, and quite a few different battles, and terrors and conflicts as they attempt to locate Mithril Hall. And it is very much a quest, it's very much a mystery, because one of the things surrounding Mithril Hall, one of the questions surrounding Mithril Hall, is why did the dwarves have to flee it in the first place, in addition to where it actually is. So these are things that are kind of played with over the course, well, not played with, but highlighted here and there over the course of the novel. I did mention that in terms of the character work, it's mainly with Bruno, because obviously this is a deeply personal journey for him, and his, as a result of that, when I think back on this book in terms of like the characters and the moments that we spend with them, his story stands out the most, which makes sense, especially when we inevitably come towards the end of the book and things start to happen for good or ill. And with his particular story, we kind of play with that, the idea of like a lost home, and so, your memory of something not necessarily being the reality of it, and these kind of things. Like it as an immigrant, these kind of situations where characters have complicated, they face a complicated situation where it comes to what they perceive as their home. It's something like I tend to relate to with a bit more, or I tend to understand a bit better, because like to move to a new country, you do have to give up your what you've always thought of as your home, and you have to you settle in this place, and you have to essentially build a whole new home here, and it takes time. It's something that takes time, and clearly with Bruno, this is something that he grapples with over the course of the novel, because even though Icewind Dale has effectively been his home, he has this concept of Mithril Hall being his home, and this is the book that challenges that kind of forces him to confront that reality, and decide which direction he kind of wants to take. At what cost do you try to go back and relive a past that may not necessarily be as rosy as you recall, and these kind of things. So there is some stuff going on there in terms of thematic work, but first and foremost, don't be mistaken, this is very much an action adventure kind of story. Yeah, and overall, what can I say about the reading experience? Like, Ari Salvatore's writing is exactly like what it was in the Crystal Shard. Easy to go down, it reads very fast, it reads very fun, the action scenes come one after the other, they can be very exciting, the battles are pretty epic when they happen, especially as we come down towards the climax. Just a fun read overall. Like, with these books, it's not like I enter them with very high expectations. I don't enter them expecting, oh, it's going to be a garbage read, but I don't exactly go in expecting like peak fiction or something like that. So I'm just going to have fun, read a fun adventure, and that's exactly what I get to this book. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Those are my thoughts on Streams of Silver, the second book in the Icewind Dale trilogy. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.